Chapter 47 Jumping Ship. Riots take over the city eventually as panic spreads. The wizards who remained in the city had no idea how to stop the golems, the others having escaped after knowing that not even the Archlords of Nex had been able to stop their doom. Hundreds, if not thousands, launched themselves into the cathedral in an attempt to try and find the Starstone themselves, and perhaps achieve godhood. After all, if a drunkard had managed it in the past, why not them? As for the party, it served to do some end-of-the-world adventuring for good measure, as the first trial of the Starstone is getting across the aforementioned abyss. Eventually, the golems came into sight. The party had the wellspring handy in one of their bags of holding, so worst-case scenario they would spend the rest of their lives around it, trapped but unharmed. Then they fell. The land shook with impossible force, throwing everything around like a tumbling wagon. The dull sound of the portals opening and tearing reality apart came soon after, and the city was speedily engulfed in ever-growing pockets of darkness, along with those other ones who were trying to get in and maybe manage to cross the abyss. The party headed into the cathedral, as its ridiculously tall spires were eaten away into nothingness, revealing confounding mazes, changing hallways, and impossible puzzles, just before disintegrating them too. Go, go, go! Hassan pushes everyone inside before a falling block of marble blocks the exit. Chapter 48 Why? The cool, seemingly endless main hall of the cathedral extended before them. Then it began to change and distort, as if the trial was trying to compose itself, but the sheer destruction overtaking it was making it impossible. Eventually, even the roof gave way, and the illusion faltered, revealing an empty, featureless hall of dull stone, with nothing but a glowing object standing on top of a small pedestal. The Starstone, everyone said at once, and they all started running. There must have been some 24 individuals in total, though Hassan had made sure to thin that number down to 6 before getting to it. Then they all bounced off of an invisible shield and were suddenly confronted with a burning question inside their heads.
Why?
They all looked at each other, and they seemed to guess what their companions were thinking.
Rakim, you can't let him get it, said Hassan. He murdered your wife. Nay, he used her as a bag of meat. He made it so your son ate her from the inside out, so he could sell her out for profit and influence.
Rakim attempted to keep his cool.
It does not matter now. Besides, so did you.
He is right, Hassan. You are as responsible for this as anyone,
said the priest, his eyes fixated on the Starstone.
Perhaps. He seemed to think about it for a moment. You know what? Why deny it anymore? Yes, I used her. In fact, I'm glad I did. Would have given me some really nice rubies. Too bad she couldn't take it, the poor wench.
The Gorilonk gave him a puzzled look, somewhere between rage, suppression, and befuddlement. He tried to keep it down, but eventually the walls he had built around his anger came crumbling down, all along, while Hassan kept pushing it, and so he exploded in utter fury and charged at the rogue, who got out just in time. Valinar gathered his wits and took the chance by Rakim's outburst.
Sivana, if ever I needed your help, it was now. Give me what was asked, and I shall give what was promised.
At that point I asked him how serious he was about his promise, making sure to use the "Are you sure you want to do this?" tone all DMs use when they want to warn a player about dangerous consequences. He said yes. Then I expressively told him, remember that your standing with your goddess is at best dubious. There might be consequences. You know Savannah is known for her tricks. He still said yes. I suppose a desperate man will hang on to a burning log if there is no other choice. And so he went blind and deaf all of a sudden. Also, Saltspit disappeared from the face of Galarian and became safely hidden in the perpetual darkness and endless veils of Savannah's realm. But none of them ever knew that. Blind and deaf perhaps, but still had his mind, and remembered Rakim's loss of composure just in time to will the control rune into activation, making the derailing fall under his admittedly shaky command. And so he used it in an attempt to go after Hassan, which he almost did, had not the rogue used Jack as a decoy and ended with the poor bard thoroughly punched. I allowed Rakim a very difficult will saving throw when about to hit a companion, but he failed, and then discharged his fists all over Jack, whom not all the pros in the world would save now, finally succumbing to the enraged killing machine. The second time Hassan wasn't so lucky, and Rakim got him grounded and ready to smash it with all his force, which was no small thing, plus the rogue had the worst luck when it came to rolling for HPs. However, Vorgok comes in at the last moment and shoves Hassan away, saving him from almost certain death, but receiving the brunt of the attack. They fight it off for a bit, both ending up pretty battered but otherwise alive. This gives Rakim a second try at the will save, this time succeeding, giving him enough time to turn around, grab Valanar by the neck and, without a single word, crush his spine between his hands. "Vorgok, help!" Hassan yells when Rakim, still angry beyond belief, and now again free to act, charges at him. The player behind the barbarian has never been able to properly master the rules, even after all these years, but he has an uncanny ability to survive and get excellent rolls. Not this time, though. Down to very few hit points, he looks at Hassan and says, "This is probably as far as I can go. Win this one for us, Hassan," and runs to tackle the purple monster, ending up in a grapple that takes his life away a few rounds afterwards. "Win this one for me," Hassan whispers under his breath, and rises to confront Rakim. The duel between the two was quite impressive, but the oblivion closing in around them was what remained of the cathedral falling as a ruin of crashing death. It was about to draw into a close regardless of who won. That's when Hassan decided to take his gamble, and after escaping Rakim's grapple, he ran as fast as he could into the Starstone, only to be confronted with the same invisible field and that ear-shattering question inside his head.
"Why?"
He took one last breath and said, "Why? Because I wanted." And with that, the world around them dissipated away into nothingness. Epilogue. It is said there is a city lost in time, shrouded in darkness and mystery and secrets, where hidden are riches so vast, the very word loses all meaning. It is also said that greed itself walks through its desolated streets and watches over its empty vistas, knowing nothing but to hoard, wanting nothing but to want more. Then again, these are but tales, among many other tales, and one does not just take them up for what they say. Not even the tale of one rogue who thought he could have it all. That one industrious rogue. Big thanks to Christine Andreu for writing this story. I mean it when I say it's my favorite tabletop story of all time. Also big thanks to YouTube commenters who kept me motivated, such as Empoleon Master, Crimloots, Nurgle Comes For You, Armok God of Blood, and Pabortsa PI. Without their positivity and feedback, I never would have struggled through to the end. Speaking of which, I apologize for how many actual years it took to finish this thing. Living on a main street with no double glazing means I gotta wait until about 2 a.m. to even have a chance of recording these episodes clearly. I did it as a labor of love, and if only a handful of people ever hear or enjoy it, that's more than enough for me. Stick around for more incongruous, weird, and inconsistently uploaded content, folks, and I'll see you next time.